Hello everyone, welcome to our group's presentations. We are going to present the Premack's principles. Our group including Irene Moore, Tai Long, and Daniel May. This presentation including Introduction to Premack, secondly, Premack's principle, including intro and breakdown. Thirdly, reinforcement, human behavior. Fourthly, we are going to talk about a real-life experience. And finally, biographies, the source of our presentation.
Today we're going to discuss the theory of Premack's principle. Who is David Premack? David Premack was born in 1925. He was in the United States Army, and he attended the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis, where he received his BA and MA in experimental psychology and statistics. He went on to receive his PhD in 1955 in experimental psychology and philosophy. From 1953 to present, he assisted in many research studies and is now a retired psychology professor. He was given many awards that contributed to the advancement of the way humans and animals reason. Once Dr. Premack conducted a study on how the cebus monkeys perform certain activities, he decided to test his theory on humans. Premack's principle suggests that if a person wants to perform a given activity, the person will perform a less desirable activity to get at the more desirable activity. His first publication, released in 1959, and focused on the theory of reinforcement. What is reinforcement? According to About.com, reinforcement is a term used in operant conditioning to refer to anything that increases the likelihood that a response will occur. For example, when you are trying to train your pet, there are various activities that dogs don't like to do on command that are considered undesirable. A treat can be used to reinforce and alter a dog's behavior.
To further break down reinforcement, it's important to realize that there are two types of reinforcement: positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Both types of reinforcement focus on response and stimulus. The definition of positive reinforcement is the contingent presentation of a stimulus. Premack's principle also applies to people. Evidence suggests that people will act a certain way in order to attain a desirable result, even if the act itself is undesirable. An example of this would include a child wanting to play outside. If a parent tells a child that they must first clean their room, the child will clean their room. Premack's principle can be applied to many daily activities. It can be found in areas such as the classroom, animal training, parenting, and at the workplace.
Lastly, I'm going to talk about Premack's experience. Premack conducted his first test on children and then he spent his test on various subjects. However, the roles of stimulants on high probabilities activities were reserved, and he measured the same outcomes. Let's look at an example. Lastly, I'm going to talk about Premack's principle. Premack conducted his first test on children, and then he spent his test on various subjects. However, the roles of stimulants on high probable activities were reserved, and he measured the same outcomes. Let's look at Premack's first experience. In a preliminary exploration of nursery school procedures, 3-year-old objects were available 3 hours a day, 5 days a week for about 1 month. On the first day, in the absence of any outside control, verbal instruction usually had little effect on the children's behavior. When they were instructed to sit in the chairs, the kids would often continue what they were doing around the room, running, screaming, pushing chairs, or quietly working jigsaw puzzles, taking Premack seriously. Such behavior were labeled as high-probability behaviors and used in combination with the signals for them as reinforcers. These high-probability behaviors were then made contingent on desired behaviors. For example, sitting quietly in a chair and looking at the blackboard would be followed by the sound of the spell, with the instruction, "Run and scream." The kid then lift their feet and run around the screaming. At another signal, they would stop. At this time, they would get another signal and instruction to engage in some other behavior, which on a quasi-quantum random schedule might be one of high or low probability. At a later stage, the kid earns tokens for low probability behavior, which could later be used to buy the opportunity for high probability activities. With this kind of procedure, control was virtually perfect after a few days. That was an example of Premack's experience how to make the low probabilities become Another experience is conducted on to trained animal. As you can see on the pictures, the dog wanted to chase a squirrel, but then it was restrained because it's not allowed to do by itself. If it listens to the command, then it can do what it wants, lazily. The more you think of Premack's principle, the higher probability you get excited about how you were trained to do many boring or uninteresting tasks. There are many situations in our life that is related to Premack's principle, doing undesired actions in expectation of doing desired actions. Like the kids, they running, screaming around the room, just cannot focus on the blackboard. But by using the high probability actions, they can begin to focus more on the blackboard because they would be allowed to do better what they like. This principle of enforcing low probability acts by higher probability acts is very practical. It can be applied to strengthen low probability acts in numerous creative ways, yet very effectively. Thank you for listening. Here is the source of our presentations.